Hey everyone, and welcome back to the deep dive. Ever feel like you're just going through the motions at work? Or maybe even in life?
It's like we're all on autopilot sometimes.
Exactly. So today we're ditching the autopilot and taking a deep dive into what really gets us going, what truly motivates us.
And we've got a fantastic guide for this journey. Daniel Pink's Drive.
Drive. Now, we're not talking about some rah-rah motivational speaker stuff here.
Yeah.
Pink dives into the actual science of motivation.
Absolutely. He's all about the research, the psychology behind it all.
So no magic formulas or secret handshakes.
Not a single one. In fact, Pink throws some serious shade at those old school carrots and sticks, motivational tactics, that whole do this and you'll get that approach.
The classic incentives. Bonuses, commissions, the threat of getting fired, those kinds of things.
Exactly. And as it turns out, they often backfire.
Hold on. You tell me those classic incentives, they don't actually work.
Well, not as well as we've been led to believe. To understand why, let's rewind a bit. Back to the early 1900s.
Okay, taking it way back.
Back when Frederick Winslow Taylor was revolutionizing the workplace with his scientific management ideas, he basically envisioned workers as, parts in a machine.
Cogs in the wheel.
Precisely. And he believed these cogs were primarily motivated by, you guessed it, rewards and punishments.
So dangle a bigger bonus or threaten a harsher penalty and boom, peak performance.
That was the idea. But here's the catch. Our world, it's a bit more complex now, isn't it?
To say the least.
We need more than just obedient cogs. We need creativity. We need critical thinking. We need that spark of innovation. And those things, they don't exactly thrive in a do-this-or-else environment.
Right. It's like trying to run the latest video game on a clunky old computer. You need an upgrade.
Exactly. And that's where Pink's Motivation 3.0 comes in. It's all about tapping into our innate human drives.
Okay, I'm intrigued. But before we get into this Motivation 3.0, let's unpack why those old carrots and sticks often fail us. Pink highlights 7 key flaws, but let's focus on a couple that really hit home.
Sounds good.
One that I find fascinating is this Sawyer effect. Like in Tom Sawyer, when he tricks his friends into paying him for the privilege of whitewashing that fence.
Classic Tom Sawyer.
What a clever boy. But what's the takeaway there? What's the connection to motivation?
It brilliantly illustrates how rewards can actually backfire. They can take a potentially enjoyable activity and turn it into a chore.
Because you're only doing it for the reward at the end and not for the joy of the actual task.
Exactly. When we're so focused on that external reward, we often lose sight of the inherent satisfaction, the joy that we might get from the task itself.
Yeah, it's like those kids who love to draw, but then you start offering them a prize for it, and suddenly the joy seems to evaporate. They're just chasing that external validation.
Precisely. And this isn't just about kids and chores. This plays out in our workplaces every single day. Think about the projects you've been most proud of in your own work. Were they driven solely by the promise of a bonus? Or was there something more there?
Yeah, I'm starting to see how chasing those external rewards might actually sabotage our best work. So if carrots and sticks are flawed, then what's the alternative? So if carrots and sticks aren't the whole story, what's the alternative?
Well, that's where this Motivation 3.0 comes in.
Okay.
Pink's argument is it's all about tapping into our innate human drives. And he breaks it down into 3 key elements: autonomy, mastery, and purpose.
All right, so let's unpack those. Those are some pretty big ideas. Let's start with autonomy. We all want to feel in control of our own lives, but what does genuine autonomy actually look like in the workplace? I mean, it's not like everyone can just run around doing their own thing, right?
Right. It's not about total chaos, no structure or anything. It's more about, like you said, feeling in control of your work, having meaningful control over what you do, when you do it, how you do it, even within a structured environment.
Yeah.
Think about it. Haven't you been in situations where you were given a little bit of leeway, a little bit of freedom to make some decisions about your work?
Absolutely.
And how did that make you feel?
Oh, way more motivated, for sure.
Exact.
When you feel that sense of ownership.
Exactly. Like you're a participant and not just a pawn. Right.
Totally.
And companies are starting to catch on to this. Pink talks about Atlassian, a software company that has this really cool policy called FedEx Days.
FedEx Days. Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So once a quarter, every engineer gets a full day.
Wow, a whole day?
To work on any problem they want. And I mean any problem.
That's amazing.
As long as it's not part of their regular tasks, they have complete freedom to choose what they work on, how they approach it, who they collaborate with.
So they get to just geek out on whatever project they've been dying to tackle.
Pretty much. But there's a catch.
There's always a catch.
They have to deliver something produce some kind of result by the end of the day, hence the name FedEx Days.
I love that. That's a fun way to do it. It's like, adds a little bit of pressure, you know? But beyond just being a cool policy, what's been the impact?
Oh, it's been huge for them. These FedEx Days have sparked a ton of innovation, new product ideas, solutions to problems they didn't even know they had. Plus, it's a huge morale booster.
Yeah, I bet.
It really proves that giving people that sense of ownership over their work can unleash some incredible creativity.
Makes you wonder why more companies aren't doing it.
Yeah.
But autonomy is just one piece of the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about mastery. We all have that desire to get better at something, but it's not always easy.
Oh, absolutely not. Mastery, it takes effort, it takes grit, a willingness to kind of push past those inevitable plateaus we all hit. It's about that constant striving to improve, to learn, to grow.
Right.
And I think it's important to remember that it really is a journey, not a destination.
So how do we embrace that journey, though, without getting discouraged? Especially in those moments when we hit a wall, we're not progressing as quickly as we'd like. Maybe we're feeling stuck.
Yeah.
How do we push through that?
Well, I think a big part of it is recognizing that those moments, they're part of the process. It's okay to not be perfect, to not have it all figured out. Yep. Embrace the challenge. Pink actually talks about the importance of what he calls Goldilocks tasks. Tasks that are neither too easy nor too hard, kind of that sweet spot in the middle.
Goldilocks tasks, I like that. So finding those challenges that push you just enough to keep you engaged, keep you motivated, but not so much that you just feel overwhelmed or defeated. But how do you find that sweet spot? That seems tricky.
It is tricky, and I think it takes some self-awareness to really know your skill level, what you're capable of, and then to look for opportunities, either at work or in your personal life where you can stretch yourself just a little bit.
Okay, so find those areas where you can grow.
Yeah.
And I imagine when you hit that sweet spot, when you find that Goldilocks task, that's when the magic happens, right?
Exactly. You get into that state of flow.
Flow, those magical moments.
Yeah.
Have you ever, been so engrossed in an activity that time just seems to melt away?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You're just completely in the zone.
In the zone, yeah.
Whether it's writing or playing music or even, some people find it at work. When they're working on a project that they're really passionate about, that feeling, that's flow.
Exactly. And it's not just about feeling good.
Right.
It's really a state of peak performance.
Right.
Where our creativity, our problem-solving abilities, everything just seems to click.
Exactly. So if we want to ignite that fire of mastery, it sounds like we need to. One, find those Goldilocks tasks.
Right.
Those challenges that are just right. We need to embrace the challenges along the way, and we need to create environments where we can actually get into that flow state.
Yeah.
But there's still one more piece to this puzzle, right? Purpose. What role does purpose play in all of this? Purpose. It's one of those words that gets thrown around a lot these days. Find your purpose. Live your purpose. But what does it actually mean in the context of, work and motivation? It's not like we all need to quit our jobs and go join the Peace Corps.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily about, finding a job with a capital P purpose.
Yeah.
Like saving the world or something.
Right.
It's more about connecting to something bigger than ourselves, finding meaning and significance in the work that we do.
Okay, so it's not so much about the job title itself. It's more about how we view our work and the impact it has.
Exactly. Even in jobs that might seem, quote unquote, ordinary, there's always a way to connect to a larger purpose. Maybe it's about helping your team succeed. Maybe it's about providing excellent customer service. Or maybe it's just knowing that the work you do contributes to something larger than yourself.
I can see how that shift in perspective, even just that small shift, can make a huge difference in how you approach your work, especially on those days when you're just not feeling it,
Absolutely.
But how do we actually uncover that sense of purpose? What if we're sitting here thinking, my job, it's just a job?
That's a really good question. And Pink actually offers a great exercise for this. He calls it finding your sentence.
Your sentence. Okay, I'm listening.
It's basically about articulating the impact you want to have on the world.
Okay.
The legacy you want to leave behind.
Got it.
If you could sum up your purpose in one sentence, what would it be?
Okay, so it's like your mission statement, your personal mission statement.
Exactly.
So an example of that could be, I don't know, she helped others achieve their dreams, or he made his community a better place.
Exactly. Or he brought joy to people's lives through his work, whatever it might be.
So finding those values that really drive you.
Yes.
And finding ways to express those values through your work. regardless of what your job title is or, what your day-to-day tasks might be.
It's about aligning your actions with your values. And that can be really powerful.
So we've covered autonomy, mastery, and purpose. The 3 pillars of Motivation 3.0, according to Daniel Pink. But the question is, how do we take all of this and actually apply it to our lives? I mean, it's one thing to understand these concepts, but it's another thing to actually put them into action.
Right. It's like, how do we make it real?
Exactly.
And I think, like with most things, it starts with small steps.
Okay, I like that. Small steps.
Maybe it's having a conversation with your boss about having a little bit more autonomy over a certain project. Or maybe it's seeking out opportunities to learn a new skill that you're excited.
Yeah, that excites you.
Yeah, or even if it's just taking some time for yourself to reflect on your sentence, your purpose, and find little ways that you can bring more of that into your day-to-day work.
It's about, like you said, taking those small steps, experimenting a little bit, seeing what works for you.
Yeah, because it's not a one-size-fits-all.
Definitely not.
What works for one person might not work for another.
Right.
You have to kind of figure out what resonates with you, what lights your fire.
So if there's one takeaway from this deep dive into drive, it's that we all have the power, we all have the ability to design a more motivating, more fulfilling work life for ourselves.
It's not about waiting for that perfect job to come along or that, magical motivation fairy to strike.
Right. It's not going to just happen to you.
Exactly. It's about taking ownership.
Yes.
And creating the conditions when motivation can flourish.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, it's been so fascinating exploring these ideas with you today.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, I hope this deep dive has sparked some new insights, maybe even inspired you to rethink what truly motivates you in your own lives.
And if you want to learn more, I highly recommend checking out Daniel Pink's book, Drive. It's packed with even more insights and practical advice.
Yes, definitely check it out. And that's a wrap on this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And remember, you have the power to design a more motivated and fulfilling life, both at work and beyond.